All right, we're back.
Hey, we're back. How are you? Hey, Dylan, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine. I'm in a different spot this week for various real life things going on, but I'm fine. How are you, Zach?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. I'm in a weird spot also. I guess sometimes the same place, whatever. Anyway, without further ado, thank you for watching or listening or whatever it is you're engaging with this. My name is Zach, and that's Dylan on that side. For some reason, once I register that it's just the opposite, then it's like, like I know it's the opposite, but I'm like, well, just come on, Zach. It's that side, you know, it's whatever. I'm still going to get it wrong, but anyway. So what this show is, Twitching UpStream. What we do is we have an our show called Talking UpStream, comes out Sundays, and we interview and chat with some creators of random things, movies, podcasts, radio shows, anything really. And we pitch them an idea and we kind of create some weird stuff with them. Well, we didn't want to just keep creating stuff over and over and over again, even though we could do it because we're that good. But what we wanted to do is we want to develop some of these things, actually make some of these things because they're cool. Some of these products are really cool and they sound great to us. So we decided to make this show Twitching UpStream, which we also do on Twitch. Because if for any reason you want to write something in any comments, go ahead, throw it in the comments. We'll address it. We'll probably throw it into a story, fold it in, or make fun of it, whatever. You're not more clever than Dylan, so give me your best. I'm negging them. It's something I learned about in 2003. Anyway, so yeah, but before we get into a story, we're going to keep working on what we called Red Wichita, which you know, we're really developing this. I think we're in episode 3 or 4 right now. But before we get into the creation stuff, we just want to chat about current media news, things that I would text my best friend if he were to respond to me. So I save it all for our live show. That way I can see his face and how disappointed he is in the things that I find interesting, which is pretty much all nerd news and all media. But a couple things, Dylan, that I did want to talk to you about. I'm not sure if you saw this or not, but Marvel news, Deadpool is officially in the MCU, making his debut today. I'm not sure if you happened to see this. He is in a commercial with Korg, and they are doing a reaction video to Free Guy's commercial. So Free Guy starring Ryan Reynolds, also starring Taika Waititi. Now they are in Free Guy, which is a movie where an NPC has a bit of an arc. I have no idea. But yeah, so what they did was they have Korg, who's voiced by Taika Waititi, and Deadpool, who's voiced by infamously and beautifully Ryan Reynolds. So now they're just like watching that video and commenting on it. How do you feel about Deadpool being in the MCU?
I was hoping it was going to happen. I like both Deadpool movies. I mean, the second one is more of the same.
Yeah.
Not really in a bad way, in my opinion.
Is there any way Deadpool gets into the MCU with Deadpool 1 and 2 being canon?
I don't know.
I mean, because in episode, part 1 there was a couple of Fox's X-Men in there. In part 2, he ends up getting out of the movie with a time machine, which maybe the TVA is going to have something to do with this, or whoever knows. But yeah, so Deadpool in the MCU, does it work though?
That's the question. I wouldn't be surprised if the Deadpool mainline movies stay as R-rated as they normally are, and then his appearances in other movies conform to those rating system, whatever they're rated. You know what I mean? Yeah. but supposedly they're going to let him stay R-rated.
Yeah,
I hope
I mean,
so.
I hope so. I feel that's one of the way it works, but
Yeah.
whatever. But keeping with Taika Waititi, Thor: Love and Thunder is getting it's coming soon,
Yeah.
and it's looking pretty wild. Recent reviews that Taika Waititi said is he's done some quote crazy shit in his life. He's lived 10 lifetimes, but this film is the craziest thing he's ever done. If you wrote all the elements in this film, it shouldn't make sense. It's almost like it shouldn't have actually been made. If you walked through a room and said, I want this and this and this, blah, blah, blah. He said there's a chance he's never going to work again after making this movie because of how weird and goofy it is. Looking at the cast list, it obviously sounds pretty big, but I really don't see Disney or Marvel letting him just unwind, or even I don't even really see him telling a stupid story.
No.
He's a great storyteller. Why would he create something dumb with characters? It doesn't make sense.
Even Ragnarok isn't that out there. It's just funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it is way different than comic Thor. It's way different than Thor 1 and 2. It is what I think the Thor character needed. It is what mainstream viewers also wanted. But I think it is a way to throw, because his character is really based in Norse mythology and also the realms, so he doesn't really fit in with Iron Man. So to make his movies the same people that would watch an Iron Man, Captain America, Spider-Man, you got to make them like that. Also, fun tidbit, I'm not sure if you saw this, but interesting Chris Hemsworth cameo in episode 5 of Loki. Did you happen to catch that?
I don't remember it.
Yeah, so apparently it's a voice. Chris Hemsworth was brought in to voice act for Throg in episode 5. So the 3 or 4 grunts of Throg as he's jumping in that jar, reaching for Mjolnir, apparently were voiced by Chris Hemsworth, which is interesting, but whatever. I guess you can just grunt a couple times via phone.
That's all you got to do.
Yeah. So there, speaking of Loki, actually, there is an interesting theory now. Pseudo spoilers for Loki, and sorry about this, but there's Loki. So there's a lot of Kang theories going on, and there's that the one interesting thing that was in the last episode of Loki, where they showed Avengers Tower in the background, and there was the second level, which shows that it's post Avengers 1 tower, and then there was actually the Kang written on the side of it.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, so there's a pretty interesting chance that Spider-Man also brought in that that idea that it was Loki in there, and mostly because that tower was in the Spider-Man last couple movies. They did show that the Avengers Tower was being sold, and if they show that maybe Kang did buy it, I have no idea. And there's also current theories that actually, I'm gonna say that. I don't want to.
No, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. And last news before we kind of get into some of the stuff that we normally do here. I'm gonna throw some stuff at you. Recently, U.S. News filed a report that said ranked number 1 out of 150 of the most popular metro areas, and this included housing affordability, net migration, desirability, job market, quality of life. Including access to quality healthcare, college readiness. The number 1 city to be for the second time in a row. Do you know where it is, Dylan? The number 1 U.S. city.
Isn't it like somewhere in Illinois or something?
Nope.
No. Oh, all right. I don't know.
You are literally sitting in it. It is Boulder, Colorado. It is ranked the best place to be in the U.S. So if you look outside, you'll see such a beautiful place. So I guess that's pretty much all the weird news I have. There's a lot of MCU stuff coming out soon. There's like 12 movies set up already. There's 5 shows that are
insane.
Yeah, they have 5 or 6 MCU shows already put into the thing. Oh, actually, there is one last bit of nerd trivia that I wanted to throw at you. There is an 11-year-old student, and he is from. Let me see. Where do I have it? He's from Belgium. 11-year-old student from Belgium. Actually, just got a physics degree. I'm sorry. He just got a big grant. And he said he's going to obtain the physics degree because what he wants to do is he wants to become the very first cyborg boy. He has a plan. He has mapped out how he can replace. Oh, hello, Miss Tina. He actually has this map of how he can figure out how to replace one body part at a time to become a full cyborg by the time he's 30 years old. So, yeah, check that out. Very, very weird thing. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all the weird news I have here today. Yeah. So anyway, what we do in the show is we take a project that we've already had and we start breaking it down. And one of the projects that we did on episode 7 of this show was a weird podcast. It was called Red Wichita, in which we would get behind kind of like a serial style podcast after a terrible event happened. And I'm going to let Dylan explain the premise of this and then where we are and then what we're going to finish up with the rest of the show. So once again, if you're watching this anywhere, just feel free to comment here and let us know how you feel this thing should go or anything else or whatever. So go ahead, take it away.
All right. So what we normally do here on Twitching UpStream is that Zach and I will share a Google document, which looks like this. This is our development document for a story we're writing here. This story is going to be podcast we're doing. It's going to be about 6 episodes or so. And the intention behind this podcast is to make a serial style podcast about a supervillain taking over the city of Wichita, Kansas. We're calling it Red Wichita. And we've gone through, I think, the first 3 episodes. I think that's where we ended. So pretty much what it is you have the main character. Her name is Daphne Driver. She's a reporter for the Wichita Eagle. She made friends with a group of reptilian humanoids who came up from the center of the earth and started podcasting. Those reptilians actually sent her an audio file of what sounded like an I-beam charging up, and it sounds like a specific supervillain. So she is trying, or superhero rather, who everybody has a really good opinion of. So what's happening is she is making this show in universe as a way to reveal that Superion, the hero, is not a good person. We've gone through the first 3 episodes or so. We did some character development here. Daphne Driver, she's like the April O'Neil to the, what are they, millennial humanoid lizard people podcasters.
Yeah.
MHLP.
Yeah.
It's catchy in its own way.
Love it.
We are going into episode 1, which is kind of like what the podcast is about. Who is involved, Superion's backstory. The main villain is a guy named Red Emperor. We hint at Daphne's dislike of Superion because she lost her friends during this happening, and kind of who everybody is. And this is her in the early days of the podcast trying to sort things out. She has an interview with Red Emperor's attorney because this is a superhero story without all the superheroics. Because I really like doing the mundane in the fantastic, and I think this is a really fun format to do it in. And we cover with what Daphne is trying to prove, that Superion is not a good person and that he's apathetic or at worst just a straight-up corporate stooge who instigated this event as a publicity and funding stunt. Episode 2, we build up to the actual invasion of Wichita, who these people are. We meet some like street-level heroes who are based in Wichita's central area, Kansas City, that sort of thing. Places that are kind of close to there. And why the villain chose Wichita, which is that it's a breadbasket city. It's a city that produces a whole bunch of food and is not very well defended in like a superhero setting because nobody's there. We had an interview with Doc Quantum. Doc Quantum is a superhero who is kind of like mad genius, and he was there in Wichita when the invasion started. He hid inside his Schrodinger's box and was later rescued, and now he's kind of catching everybody up. So now we're going to dive into developing episode 3 of this. And if you've never watched this before, there are a lot of you people here. This is just Zach and I kind of brainstorming. We take notes, and eventually we are going to produce this and see if we can't get this made, because we've got a lot of friends who are willing to work with us and provide their talent for us to kind of fit into what we need it for. All right. Anything I missed, Zach? That sound about right?
No, that sounds great. Yeah.
Cool.
Ideally, what we're trying to do is turn this into something that we could do as an audio drama or read along on here. But yeah, so anytime if something sounds cool or interesting, just fill in the comment and we'll try to add it in there or make fun of it. So
yeah, your comments, we pay attention and we do try to respond or implement them as we see fit.
Yeah. Okay, so episode 3, the occupation. Number 1 is Red Emperor solidifies control of the city, raises walls, life under the occupation. What are we trying to get across with the beginning of this episode?
So this is to solidify kind of what existence is like under a city run by a supervillain. Especially a guy like he goes by Red Emperor. His ability is that he can cause tectonic plates to move. He has like earth elemental control powers. So what he actually winds up doing is walls in Wichita by raising up a whole bunch of like magma like moats and those big like, I guess I'm in Boulder, so flat iron style kind of like walls that are hard to climb up. So this is an interview with just kind of people. Like we interview like average citizens of Wichita who live in the city, in the city while Red Emperor ran it. And like, do you have any thoughts you've got on like who these people might be? If there's like what does the mailman do in a city run by a supervillain, or like that sort of thing?
Yeah, I would assume that it would be a pretty big infrastructure thing. Like there would be, if he's going to mess up the earth around it, then whatever does the infrastructure, the roadways. Maybe if he is in a different county and breaks up a county, then there's like school districts get messed up. Maybe so we could talk to teacher, like maybe a teacher who's like, yeah, and then after that, like half of my district changed, so I lost all my students. There's going to be probably I don't know. I like the idea of like the plumbing, the sewage is going to get messed up. Because he's messing up like what fiber optics, like that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Yeah. Sure. So all that's gonna, he's gonna really mess that up. So we're gonna talk to a lot of blue collar people who do that kind of work. I'm like, oh man, this has just been a disaster for us because we've had to find a way to rerun internet wires under lava moats or whatever.
I like the uncertainty about when this might end, like citizens unsure of what the government or superhero teams are up to. Like as far as like why it's taking them so long to save these people. This is a big city. It's several 100,000 people. Yeah.
And and it's long enough where I guess the people that are living inside, because they can't leave, they have to think, is this how life is going to be? Do we need to form our own inner government, or what's going to happen here?
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. And I think we decided that he only runs Wichita for like 3 weeks before something happens. So it's like, that's a long time to live in unsure circumstances, especially in a setting like this where supervillains are like,
Well, yeah, because you think if he blocks off the city, then there's no shipping, no trains, no major transportation, that kind of stuff. All right, so the second part of this is an interview with Incognito.
Yes. Now let's remind ourselves what Incognito can do. He's a minor superhero. He's hard to remember. So like, people see him and they have a hard time being like, there was someone here, and they were like, it's like, I don't remember what he looked like. And he can also extend that to people around him. So he puts out kind of like an ambivalence field or something like that. Which I think is really, I like that idea as like a superhero power.
That's gonna be very interesting to interview that person. If you maybe you're like, wait, where are you still sitting here?
Daphne has
and they're like, yeah, I'm sitting right here. It's like, oh, I forgot that you were, right? That would be kind of what his powers are. Like, you wouldn't really even notice him.
And then he can be like, "Oh, sorry, I don't mean to have it so tuned up." And then he turns it down. And she goes, "Ah, I expected more handsome." He's like, "Yeah, well, this is why I do it," or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So pretty much in Incognito's interview, she's just kind of talking to him about his superheroics during this time. He's not super strong or like durable or anything, but I figured Incognito's abilities would be really good to help get people in and out of the city.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like sneaking people out, and we can introduce some of Red Ember's kind of like minions or something like that. Because one of the storylines we had going, or at least an idea, was that minor villains are moving to Wichita because it's a villain city now. So
we're building a Gotham.
A little bit, but it's in the middle of the country.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if we want to come up with specific scenarios that Incognito helped with, or who he might have helped with, or what are you thinking? What does this evoke for you?
Well, I guess it might be like Incognito could be a reverse Coyote, like sneaking people into Wichita, like sneaking the villains that don't have a way in. But then it's like, well, against who? Like, who's not going to be able to see that? So
I figured he would be like sneaking civilians out or like aid in. I figured he'd be like a hero, not like
okay.
But I do like the idea of him being compared to like coyotes. There's a pretty large Hispanic population in Kansas in general, so that makes sense to talk about. But for the city instead, recount one or two specific incidents where it was a close call. Right.
Yeah. I guess he would really be, if he's getting citizens out of this place because of whatever, it would be high level people, politicians, any celebrities that are hanging out in Wichita at the time.
Yeah.
So he probably has like weird, like C and D level celebrity stories. Like, oh, there was this one time that I had to sneak the mayor of Wichita out, and blah blah blah. How is so how is he doing it? Is he like are there still roads? Like, if it's a full on, does he leave one road in and out, or
I figured there would be like a few pathways that are still open, but they're patrolled. Like, he has to have an entrance of some sort because not everybody is a mobile superhero. So he probably has like one or two main places that are like ports of entry, and Incognito is just like, all right, I can only maintain this level of undetection for so long before I get tired. So we have to get in and hide. And then it's just that sort of thing.
Cool.
Right?
Yeah. So then Daphne has to remind herself that he's...
Sorry.
Oh.
No, don't worry about it.
No, I wasn't. All right, so number 3 is the press conference about what's happening. Who is holding this press conference?
I figured this has to be like a National Guard situation, or like the president's chief, like the president's press secretary. This is like an issue of national security.
Yeah, so this is outside in. Someone from outside of Wichita is doing a press service via all major network news, to speaking at the people, specifically Red Emperor. Correct?
Yeah. Right. And this is like, there's been an incident in Wichita or something like that.
Yeah. And are they alluding to the fact that Superion would come in if the circumstances were right, or if it were what are we trying to get out of this press conference? What's that cool bit of knowledge?
They redirect questions about Superion. Like, someone's like, where is Superion? Where are the so-and-sos? And they're just like, all due course is being taken to ensure the safety of the United States citizens in hostile territory, or something like that. You know? And I figured this can be samples of different takes on it, like news commentators giving their like thoughts afterwards.
Yeah, I like that. I like a lot of just boring answers. People are asking like, "Well, how are we getting supplies in there?" And they're like, "Well, we're just, we're going to airdrop some,
Yeah,
water and stuff." And they go, "Well, what about Superion? Why will he do something?" And you go, "Actually, that's it. We're not going to handle any more questions." Like every
yeah.
time anyone, yeah, cool. I like that. And now,
Oh, I misspelled that. Anyway,
number 4, interview with Moon Shadow. Yeah, I like that.
let's remind myself, but we're gonna justify it by saying, let's remind everybody. Oh right, he becomes 2-dimensional when he's in Moonlight, and he's very sneaky. So he's like
Yeah.
he's like Batman, but he can turn 2-dimensional when he's in the Moonlight.
Yeah.
And I figured this is the guy who is like trying to impact Red Ember's logistics operations. Like this is the guy who goes in and blows up the warehouse while sneaking the food out to the people who are running the underground like resistance. So this is the action story. This is like like I think about any what kind of stuff do you think this guy would do?
Well, I mean, if all right, so let's say if Incognito were not telling the truth for whatever reason, maybe Moonshadow would have spied and saw that. Maybe Moonshadow is someone who saw the beginnings of that meeting, that devious meeting. I like him being someone who doesn't really do much. Like he was watching the neighborhood shops. He's like a neighborhood hero. But he stumbled upon just a little bit of information that he probably didn't know was a big deal.
Yeah, he kept safe like 3 or 4 blocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, which he establishes like his territory, and none of Red Ember's people went in there without a lot of backup.
Yep.
Where Red Emperor's minions were afraid to go. Moon Shadow overhears / snoops on the. I guess Superion's meeting would take place in Wichita then. Like he shows up under cover of night, and
yeah.
Okay, who's Superion talking to? Like,
well, that's the meeting that he has with Red Emperor's there, and I guess their sponsors. Okay. It's like kind of like that. The big thing. It's like, hey, how do we solve this issue? But it's like before Superion has been seen going into Wichita, so it's like he's kind of saying, if you pay me off, I won't come in here and stop this. Right? It was something like that, but there was also a sponsor who. Go ahead.
No, the corporation behind everything had got like their hands tied up in sponsoring the superhero and the supervillain, and those two weren't supposed to come to blows, and they wind up almost doing it here.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the Megacorp handlers have to figure out how to disentangle this situation without it blowing up in their face. And then does Moonshadow talk about there was some sort of like lizard person in there, and then everybody got real something, hint at the fact that.
Yeah, because one of the lizard podcasters was either in there or overheard some of that, right?
Yeah.
So maybe Moonshadow witnessed the death of the podcaster.
Yeah, Moonshadow witnessed the MHLP die from, and it was Superion's eye beam that was going to be like. Superion was the one who killed this guy, right? Like,
yeah,
that was it.
Yeah,
cool. I like that Moonshadow is the one to kind of reveal this.
Yeah.
Does he reveal it in this interview? Like, is Daphne surprised by this?
Well, I think maybe she gets the interview from Moonshadow because he has witnessed the death, and it's when maybe there's something about what she uncovers in that conversation which leads her closer to Superion. Like he's like, no, all I saw was this laser beam, and and then that lizard person died, and she's like, "You sure it was a laser beam? I thought that the police report said that it was like a gunshot or whatever to that lizard person." And he's like, "No, 100%, it was a laser beam."
What
and
if it
like,
was? Huh. What if the official cause of death was burns due to Red Emperor's like magma or something?
Yeah,
and it's like the official account says that he had been burned by magma. And it's like, I don't know, that laser beam burns pretty hot. You remember those reports on what he can do?
Yeah, and it was like a closed casket kind of situation, but it was actually just a straight hole right through his right through his head. And they're like, how does when they do, maybe they do like they zoom and do a re-autopsy or whatever, and they're like, no, these are definitely burns from magma. It's like a straight hole through his head.
Yeah,
like, these are pretty clearly laser burns. So maybe Moonshadow is the one who reveals that the laser was there, but also there was the sound on it. Wasn't there like a sound on the recording of the podcast?
But I guess that sound is the incident that directs her to like look into it.
Yeah.
And then when
she
digs deeper, this is more confirmation that she's right about something being shady.
Cool. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. And so the fifth part of this episode is the U.S. What is she going to get out of that conversation with Moonshadow? So that Superion was there. He was involved to some degree way before the media knew that he was there. Okay.
And this is episode 3, so that reveal is pretty appropriate for pacing. That no, he was in the city. I saw him. He didn't know I was there, or he might have and just let me go, but I don't know why he'd do that.
I like that.
Yeah.
And maybe even like Superion has like an alibi for why he was. I mean, he's got a pretty solid alibi for why he wasn't there for the first like 2 weeks or whatever. Okay, so the fifth part is the U.S. government attempting diplomatic solutions, but it's not working. Red Emperor claiming sovereignty. Now he's broadcasting this.
I figure this is that moment where the supervillain steps in front of the camera and is like, "People of America, people of the world. I am Red Emperor, and this is my declaration of so-and-so. Your city has been conquered. Do not attempt to interfere." Something like that. You know what I mean? And we can have this be the big villain speech, and Daphne has a little lead-in where she's like, on this date at this time, news stations around the world stopped what they were doing and reported on a broadcast being made from Wichita, Kansas, by the man who was responsible. And then we cut into that found footage style audio of I'm just a newscaster talking about it and being like, I'm new development in the story about Wichita. We're going live to the scene outside the wall. And then
sure. What is Red Emperor going to say or slip up saying in this, which is like the part, I feel like if he's broadcasting a message, what does he want? Money? He wants to be left alone?
Yeah, he wants to be left alone, and if he isn't left alone, he'll destroy Wichita, go try it with a different city. He's like, hey, I've decided to carve out my spot here, and if anybody tries to interfere, I will burn the city to the ground and try somewhere else. And I'll keep doing that until you leave me alone.
This broadcast is after the meeting that Superion is present at?
Yeah. I figured that he has to keep up a public face.
Right. So does he drop some kind of information accidentally, either about Superion? Like he's like, world leaders, leave me alone. I don't care how important people think Superion is. And something like that. And then even Superion doesn't show up another week after that. It's like he even called Superion out and he didn't show up.
Yeah. He specifically calls Superion out. Yeah, I like that.
Now, because of that meeting did not go the way that Red Emperor wanted, nor I guess the way Superion wanted. So he's kind of secretly challenging him.
Yeah, he's underhandedly challenging Superion to try. If Red Emperor isn't left alone and granted sovereignty, he will burn Wichita to the ground and try again somewhere else. And we end on that. That's the episode we end. That's how we end that episode, where it's he made his ultimatum, and now people have to deal with that.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right. So, and then episode 4 is going to start with a deeper history of Superion and Red Emperor. Now, what are we going to learn in the history of these two characters?
This is, so you remember when we came up with a little bit of backstory in the first episode. This is where we really dig into that, and we give like that kind of like, before things get really bad, you need to know some context. Like, things, before we say how things got bad or went wrong, went really wrong, you need to know some context. And then we dig into Red Emperor's backstory, Superion's backstory, previous like crime fighting and crime committing. The first time the two faced each other, because these two are like, we're treating them, I guess we're kind of treating them as nemesis. Like they are each other's challenge, right? That seems to be how we're doing it.
Yeah, I like that. I also maybe like the idea that maybe they have changed names. Like they weren't always these two people. And maybe one time Red Emperor was a good guy on a team. That kind of thing. I'm not.
Red Emperor tried heroics.
Yeah.
And failed for whatever reason. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
But so they used to work together. They are enemies, and maybe like Superion or Red Emperor was the first of the two to start corporate sponsorships. Maybe that's one of the things that pushes this rivalry a little bit.
Which one was?
Which one do you think?
I like the idea of Superion being the golden boy.
I like that. I like that maybe Superion is in the public eye, the first one to get corporate sponsorship, but maybe Red Emperor, it was their idea. And like maybe in the group that Red Emperor was in first, he's like, hey, we can, if we just hook up with a couple of these bigger companies like Disney or whatever, like we can just start making some money. And Superion's like, no, that's a terrible idea. And then he goes and gets the sponsorship from Under Armour or whatever.
Yeah, over Armour.
Oh yeah, over the what's another name for armor?
Oversuit.
Love it. I'm in.
I'm not a marketer.
That's true. I know we've spoken about that before.
Yeah. I know.
Okay, so the second one, the fight begins. So this is the moment that Superion shows up to Wichita and very openly announces that he is there. He is here for Red Emperor, and the reign is over, right?
Yeah.
And then this is where Daphne's going to get into the collateral damage. What did you say is some specific or at least significant collateral damages?
There's not a whole lot of Wichita landmarks.
What if it's pretty like weird, like all the banks happen to have like a fight in them, like it, like they were targeting the places that were being destroyed for whatever reason. Or like, you know what I mean? Like there wasn't really a fight there, but like they blew up the bank, but they were stealing the money. I don't know, something like that.
There's a pattern of like specific property damage in the first hour. The fight doesn't even last an hour, but in the first hour of the fight, because he's got to wipe out all of Red Emperor's his minions, right?
Yeah.
Cool. There's apparently a really cool statue in Wichita.
Cool.
Yeah, it's called the Keeper of the Plains.
Ooh.
Let me see if I can pull this up. Get an image for people. Oh, that's wow. Keeper of the Plains. It's a really big, like, winged statue.
Cool. So what? And then that gets taken down or something?
It gets destroyed or something like that.
Yeah. Maybe
Just like,
Red Emperor threw some hot magma over it and then re-sculptured it.
yeah. Yeah, which has been recast into Red Emperor's likeness.
Or a negative Superion likeness, which is funny. Like,
Or of him beating Superion.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, Keeper of the Pain or something like that.
Yeah, or like them two playing chess, and
Oh God, yeah.
and Superion's like dropping the king piece. All right, and the third part of this is wait, is there any more of the destruction or collateral damage you want to go over in that part?
That Superion like cleaning out the minions is so hard to relate to on a power level. It's like being really close to a jet bombing run or something like that. We have the average people where it's like I could feel it and I wasn't even inside the wall or something like that.
Yeah. I like that. And then based even with what Red Emperor did in the beginning, messed up like, the power grid, so people, the hospitals aren't working very well. Right. So we have an interview with the Silver Shield.
Yes. I think he's got the shield of Achilles and he's got the heel as well. Yeah, he's our public domain hero.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, he is saving innocents despite danger, the heroics of normal people fighting in the streets. What are we learning from Silver Shield? Now, I would assume that Silver Shield is there during the battle of Red Emperor and Superion.
Yeah, he was brought in by Incognito.
So are we going to learn something from this interview that is suspicious about their fight?
I don't think so. I think this is just a descript like a flavor event kind of thing where it's like it was hard being on the ground during that because these normal people are running, it describes the plight of the normal person during the time that a supervillain and superhero are having their massive fight.
Yeah, I feel like we should learn something else about this, though. I feel like the whole point of what we're getting to is why this event was so weird. And if it was just a basic bad guy taking over, good guy coming in, sure, cool. But I feel like what we're doing is we're kind of sprinkling in a bunch of weird stuff. It's like, yeah, but this one's a little different for some reason.
Yeah.
So I feel like I think that what you're saying is correct about Silver Shield. Everything that you're saying, yeah, he keeps that going. And I feel like there needs to be something specific about what Superion is doing. Maybe he is personally only destroying buildings that are owned by the sponsored company, and it's like, like at one point he like holds Red Emperor in the air and like looks around, and it almost seemed like he was looking for a specific building to throw him into. And when they look at like the plotting, it's like there's not an actual course of this destruction. It's like, and when you looked into who owns all of these buildings, ironically, it was this mega corporation.
Cool. I like it. There was a pattern to what he was doing. He's looking for a specific spot and and using that building to defeat that villain. Because this is at the point where he's cleaning up his lieutenants. So he's like, it was weird because he'd pick him up and he'd look around for a specific spot to take him down, and then that building would be gone. I like that a lot.
Yeah, maybe even he was like, and it was weird. I didn't know that Superion like missed that often, but he was just like hitting random buildings, it just seemed, instead of anywhere near where Red Emperor was. And they're like, oh, that is kind of odd. And then that's what leads into the investigation of what these buildings were. I think that's cool.
Yeah. At first I thought it was random, but then it started to look like a pattern. I like that a lot.
Yeah. But then, it's still sandwiched in the heroics of normal people, the fighting of the street, that kind of thing. I like that. The end of the fight, Superion versus Red Emperor is elaborated on. Interviews with scientists outlining Force Unleashed. Okay.
It was the equivalent to X bomb. The science code where they're kind of like, we should have force similar to this hadn't been done in the Midwest since so and so. But I think this is when the actual knockdown drag out fight between Superion and Red Ember goes on, like the punch each other hard enough the windows break scene.
So this is once like the news, like the countrywide news shows up, right? Like once like news helicopters show up, that's when it becomes like a real fight, because Superion can't hide his fake laser beams. Red Emperor can't destroy the So that seemed like it would be pretty easy though, right? Like I guess Red Emperor could throw lava or put up rock walls, but Superion is he's Superman, so I don't really know what else he could do.
Yeah. Well, right? Red Ember's got his like magma platform underneath him, and he's kind of flying, and Superion's trying to shoot him.
Well, maybe that's the point. Maybe once like the helicopters get there, they're like, and it seemed like the fight took like 10 to 15 seconds. And they're like, weird, because Silver Shield said the fight took like a couple hours, but like once like the helicopters came in, or once like media came in, what you know what I mean?
Once the media,
not hours, maybe Silver Shield said it took like 25 minutes, and the media's like, no, it seemed like the fight was over super quick.
It was over. Him mopping up the city took longer because he was making surgical strikes on the sponsors like buildings.
Yeah.
But once the media started appearing, he's like, I'm gonna wrap this up.
Yeah.
And does.
Yeah, like that.
And
he does it terribly. Right? Like because it says right there the equivalent of an X bomb or whatever. Wait, is it one X bomb or
X was supposed to be a number of bombs, but I like screw it. We're just gonna call them X bombs.
Yeah, it's like honestly, the Force Unleashed for what Superion did was like 2.5 X bombs worth of Fig Newtons.
Oh, God, yeah.
What Newtons?
Yes, I know. You're right. You did it.
Isaac Newtons. Anyway, all right. So the fifth part of that is immediate aftermath. Red Emperor fled.
Red Emperor runs. Like, he's handily defeated.
Do we say he runs, but he actually, like, Superion killed him, right?
No, because she talks to Red Emperor in one of the first episodes.
Oh, okay, cool.
He gets away, but
right, because he gets that contract from the government. Yeah. Right. So
Superion lets him get away.
Yeah. And then what Superion did afterwards? What do we think would be interesting for him to do directly afterwards?
I think it would be cool to have a lot of people just wondering where he went immediately after, because he didn't help with the cleanup. It's like he left. Red Emperor left, and Superion flew off in a different direction.
Yeah, maybe he did something mysterious.
Okay.
Like maybe like there are witnesses that saw like Red Emperor, like, so he's like he quit, right? He's got like the white flag up or whatever, and Superion's like holding him up, and he's like, "You're lucky to win." And he's whispering, and people are like, "Wow, we saw him." He quit. Superion whispered something to him. He let him go. He ran off. Superion looked around for like a second, dove straight down to the ground. A couple seconds later, came out of the ground and flew away. And people are like, cool. We have no idea what he did. We don't know.
I like the idea that people are like, no, he definitely threw Red Emperor down to the ground and like broke his spine. And it's like, he didn't break his spine. He took him to the tunnels that Red Emperor built under the city so he could escape. And that last one is the actual one.
Oh, yeah.
People are like, no, man, I saw the dust cloud. He slammed him to the ground. It's like, the ground is where Red Emperor is strongest. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
And that's how he gets away. Well, gets away, relatively speaking, until he gets captured by the government.
Yeah. And then the aftermath. So
this is episode 5.
Oh, okay, episode 5.
This is the last one.
Yeah, right on. Well, let's hop into this one. Let's knock some of this out. Yeah. So this is the last episode? No, there's 2 more.
No, we did. I think it's 5 episodes.
No, 6. Episode 6 right there.
Oh, the long. Okay, yep. Let me get that up there so I don't Oh, yeah, it is. Oh,
yeah.
Wow. All right.
All right, so episode 5, the aftermath. So we know what Superion did. Well, wait, now when it says what Superion did afterwards, is this a conversation with Superion, or is this a conversation with maybe? So Daphne has to have gotten some more information by now. So maybe she talks to that company that owned all those businesses.
Yeah. After cross referencing the ownership of the buildings cited in the insurance claim, I figure there might be a publicly available like a missing persons board where it's like, if your property was damaged during the catastrophe in Wichita, you may be entitled to financial compensation. And she's like, I'm just looking for a database. So this is her kind of like doing some digging, doing some investigative journalism.
Yeah, I'm into that.
Yeah.
And then yeah, so she does that investigation. She talks to Megacorp, and it turns out that Megacorp even owns the insurance company that did the insurance claims on their buildings. And it's like, yeah, weird thing is we actually kind of turned a bit of a profit. We don't really want to say that kind of thing. And I guess that's when Daphne starts thinking like, hey, maybe there's like a little more into this company than what we originally thought.
Yeah. This hints to Daphne that these guys have been in on the whole thing.
Yeah. Is she going to have a conversation with Red Emperor again? Is that what the second part of this is?
Yeah. Why not? She goes back.
Cool. Yeah. So then Red Emperor says, due to certain government people and X company, I got a weird pardon and a sponsorship if I go do this stuff for the civilization, right? Like if I can slow down volcanic things around the world, if I can slow down earthquakes, right? Is that what we were hinting at earlier?
Yeah.
And now we're saying that this other company, and turns out this government official is in the pocket of, oh my God, I'm so burpy. This government I'm sorry. This government official is actually in the pocket of Megacorp as well.
The judge was paid off or something. The judge is related.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe like maybe the government. Oh, how about this? What if the government official is legitimately related to the CEO of Megacorp? It's like the same last name person.
Yeah.
All right. So
this is kind of where Red Emperor kind of like not spills the beans, but kind of confirms her suspicions.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Which is like, so he maybe Red Emperor accidentally lets out like, yeah, in that one meeting, I was just letting him know like, hey, I just wanted to be left alone. And he, Superion was very clear, like, there's a lot of our money in this place. And, she's like, wait, were you having that conversation during the fight? And he's like, oh.
Is he not? I thought we could subvert things a little bit by having Red Emperor now just be like, hey, you're the only person who's come to talk to me more than once, and you're the only person who hasn't shouted at me for doing what I've done. I'm going to confirm some of your scoop.
Oh, cool. So he
just spills. He's just like, cool. Screw it. Superion's an asshole. You should know that. Everybody should know that.
So then the rest of the show turns into a hunt of Megacorp or a hunt of Superion?
Yeah, or her Daphne kind of unveiling all of the stuff on it.
Yeah, I like that.
About Superion and Megacorp and the whole thing.
Yeah, and he's like, honestly, they asked me to do this because they own the the disaster relief company that does this. They got a government contract if there wasn't like a war or something, and I didn't want to do this. Like, that's why I built this wall around myself, because like they wanted me to start a natural disaster, and maybe it's something like that. Like they wanted
it was a false flag.
Yeah.
It's a false flag operation or something.
Or something.
Yeah, it's effectively just like the entire thing was planned by these people as like a tax write-off or something.
Yeah.
And it got out of hand.
Yeah. And it's like that weird thing where like the government needs, like construction companies where like they have to have a certain amount of money that they obtain, or else they can't have that much money later on. It's like that kind of thing where it's like, hey, we actually didn't have any war or natural disasters. If we don't spend this much money, we're not going to have this budget later. So they went to Red Emperor to start this disaster, blah, blah. All right. So number 4 is the interview with Dean Powers about superhero ethics. What do we, all right. So
this
Daphne?
is when, this is kind of when she kind of catches Dean with the gotcha question or something. Remember?
Cool. Yeah, which is what?
Dean had originally said in episode 2. Let me pull that up real quick. Everybody showed up except that Superion never showed up at all.
Yeah.
Which very clearly did. And instead, Dean says Superion never showed up at the start with the rest of the teams, but that he showed up later to take care of everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then maybe Dean was sent in by the government to do like a PTSD counseling, any kind of trauma counseling, who is also owned by Megacorp as well. But whatever.
And he also counselor. There we go. I like the idea. What if they sent Dean in to see if they could temporarily depower Red Emperor by his proximity?
Oh yeah, I like that.
Yeah. But also to attempt to depower Red Emperor, but he could never get close enough. General portrayal that Dean and the Bureau of Powered Individuals is shady AF. Fan.
Love it. And then out of the interview with Wichita City employees, what do we want to learn out of that?
I figure we can have some innocuous comments kind of reveal Megacorp's involvement in the city's planning. It took so much investment and development to get Wichita to where it was, and now all that money is wasted. Well, not wasted. At least Megacorp Splinter Corp got out okay. Wait, what? That sort of thing.
So it's revealed that Wichita has been great for the last 15 years, ever since Megacorp came in and helped them reestablish themselves. And it sucks that this has to happen. Yeah, and like what you said, I think that's great. Cool. All right, so that was episode 4 and 5. Which is great. So if this is your first time watching, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. We are content creators. What we're trying to do is talk or Twitch or really just invent our way up to a streaming service. We really want to sell out. We have a movie that we're making. It's called Give Me Back. It's in post-production right now. We have a couple of shows going on if you want to hear us talk about anything movie related. We have a Real Boys, which is on Mondays and Fridays. We have a weird show on Wednesdays called No Time to Binge, where we really just skip the middles of most conversations, or I'm sorry, most TV shows. Tomorrow's episode, we're doing Glee. So we're only watching the first episode and then a very final episode of Glee, trying to figure out what happens in the middle.
Thank God it's only 2 episodes.
That's true. But yeah, and we have a GoFundMe for that movie. And if you want to help us out, we do have a Patreon as well. And we really want to just make more cool content.
Yeah.
We have lots of stories that we've built up. If you go look at all of our Talking Up streams, we have 40 some stories that we've built together with people. We have 40 some episodes of Twitching UpStream where we've created a lot more stuff and made some weird things. So we want to continue doing that. So yeah, if you want to check out our Patreon, we would really appreciate it. Patreon.com/Some Nobodies. Some people that really we always want to thank for helping us out. Scott Curtis with Behind the Bits. Great man, great podcast, great interviewer. Sarah Tkachik, Tonda Sheck, our East Coast friends. We really appreciate you. Listener app, which might be called Momentum app. Either way, they pay us, so I'm going to say listener app. So yeah, there's that also. You can check me out on Jeff Dwoskin's show on Wednesdays, Crossing the Stream Awesome show. And yeah, we do so much stuff, but more importantly, all we really want to do is entertain people. We just want to talk and chat and make people smile with some weird ideas. So thank you.
And yeah, you can go find me. I have a monthly article in Apostrophes Digital Magazine, generally about writing for podcasts. So go check that out from Venom Studios, I think. Yeah.
Yep.
And then otherwise, we've got our other shows, Silicon Angels, podcast show, CYOP Appeal. Go check them out.
Yeah, check everything out. But until next time, folks, he's been Dylan. I've been Zach. And you've been great. Goodbye.
Later, guys.
Adios.
Thank you.